Who is SciPac? They are a company in Japan, and they have created the voice of Daisy. Here's the icon in case anybody's interested in that sort of thing. About Voice of Daisy. Voice of Daisy is a Daisy audiobook player that supports the multimedia Daisy. DAISY, or Digital Accessible Information System, is an international standard for people who have difficulty in reading ordinary printed materials, including those with visual impairments, such as myself. I specifically have low vision, which is why everything looks really big on the screen. See the size of my mouse? So visual impairment or dyslexia. To read books. By using Voice of Daisy, you can play and listen to Daisy formatted audiobooks. But what's this for? This is the world's first multimedia Daisy player for iPhone and iPod Touch. $12.99. Now, one thing you need to understand is, for those of you in the mainstream, $12.99 for an iPhone app, that's a bit pricey, isn't it? Well, how would you feel if I told you the closest Daisy software solution that I could find costs $150? So even at the regular price of approximately $30 or so, maybe a little higher, that's still incredibly cheap. And it's on a mainstream device. Okay? Usually, when we want to listen to digital audiobooks, we would have to use something like, like this. Doesn't look very mainstream, does it? Kind of looks like a remote, doesn't it? Well, that's what we use when we normally want to listen to Daisy books. So, this application for the iPhone and iPod Touch is a real breakthrough. Okay? Many people who are blind or have low vision are getting an iPhone or an iPod Touch now because Apple has set an example of accessibility for us. There are some issues with it. You can play Daisy audiobooks with full audio, with NCC, which I'm not entirely sure what that stands for, only, and full audio and full text. And these are defined by the Daisy 202 standard. The restrictions. The Voice of Daisy does not support Daisy 2.0 and Daisy 3 standards. Now, in layman's terms, what that means is books like titles from the RFB&D, Reading for the Blind and Dyslexic, titles from the National Library Service, NLS, those are off limits. Now, whether or not this could play Bookshare books, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure what standard Bookshare uses. But NLS and RFB&D are out of bounds. Voice of Daisy does not support the following Daisy audiobooks, and you cannot play those by Voice of Daisy. Full audio with title element only, full audio with NCC partial text, or full text and some audio. So in other words, it's going to be all one. Let me double check. Full audio with NCC partial text. Yeah. What it basically means here is it's got to be all audio or all audio and all text. Now, what do I mean? Well, remember back in the beginning. Let me get through this here and then I'll explain. Voice of Daisy cannot play audio files recorded by the AD-PCM2 codec that is unique to Daisy. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Voice of Daisy cannot play Daisy audiobooks that do not completely conform to the Daisy 202 standard. And I'm not exactly sure what would fall under that. But remember earlier that the this application is primarily for use by people with low vision blindness or who have dyslexia. Let's take a look at how to use here, because I'm going to give you some screenshots. So basically, it's pretty simple. Transfer DAISY audiobook files by an FTP client, such as Explorer or CyberDuck. So you could just download the app and transfer it over, like say, using your Mac. It cannot be transferred through the App Store, okay? Unfortunately, there is no way to circumvent through iTunes. So that's another limitation you need to be aware of. You start to play by touching the book name in the bookshelf. So we have 2 books here. Okay? So then touch the chapter you wish to play in the index. Very simple controls here. I think this one's probably magnification. Reverse, pause, next. Not entirely sure what that right arrow could be. Body text is displayed and playing starts. Background color of the part being currently played is in yellow, and this is good for people who have dyslexia. It makes it easier for them to follow the text. You can also by touching the screen, you can play the touched part, and you can scroll up and down by a finger. Now, I'm assuming that they have provisions in VoiceOver for this, but it sounds to me like they're highlighting more of the features that would be used by someone who has dyslexia. Here's a low vision feature. The pinch to zoom can enlarge the text actually very easily. So there's that. And then finally, it can be used in landscape mode. Now, unfortunately, due to the limitations that I put forth earlier and the somewhat unconventional method of installation, this is not, in my view, ready for prime time, but it's a very important step in the first direction. I contacted the DAISY Consortium myself, www.daisy.org, and they responded saying that they have one of their members working on something that's going to be better. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's going to be running at a minimum of OS 3.0 on the iPhone and iPod Touch. But this is definitely a step in the right direction, because for, say, around, if this other one's going to be in the same price range, say $15 to $30, you can have a DAISY player for about as much as a Victor Reader Stream that can do a zillion other things. It can be your Pocket PC, or in this case, your Pocket Mac. It can be your music player, it can be your web device, it can be your VoIP phone. It's not just a media player, which a lot of the DAISY players that run about the same price as an iPod, that's all they can do pretty much, is play back content and maybe record it. They don't have too much else beyond that. So this, I think, is definitely a step in the mainstream direction for people who are blind, have low vision, or have dyslexia, to be using a device that is more mainstream, and you wouldn't get noticed, which for some people, being noticed using adaptive technology can be difficult because they're self-conscious. I do believe that I may have been one of those types earlier in life. In my younger years, I don't remember. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.